if we started in those lower levels, we wouldn't be spending that much time when we get up to those levels to learn how to have work-life balance and learn how to delegate and learn how to efficiently spend our time. And that's really the piece that has helped me understand that leaders do have difficulties with setting boundaries, with managing their time, managing their physical energy and their mental energy, learning how to delegate, how to do these little pieces that actually make up that fulfillment in life.
Hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Christy Yoder, host of the Master Delegator Podcast. The Master Delegator Podcast is for busy and overwhelmed entrepreneurs who want to learn how to become effective in the area of delegation and learn how to hire great virtual assistants to help them scale their business and have more time and freedom. If you are new to this channel, please consider subscribing and don't forget to click the notification bell so you get notified every time I post a new video. Alright, let's get started. Hey, welcome to the Master Delegator Podcast. Today, I have a guest joining me. Her name is Desiree Musselman. She helps new and mid-level leaders learn to find joy in work and life by setting boundaries, building mental fitness, and navigating challenging expectations. And today, I'm so excited because she is going to share with us some tips and tricks for managing our energy. Thank you so much for being on here, Desiree.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk to you today.
You're welcome. Before we dive in, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you do?
Sure. So I own and run a leadership development and training and coaching company. And I really work with those mid-level leaders or newer leaders. And I call them the forgotten ones because in corporations, usually it's our VPs and our C-suites that get a lot of leadership development and learn all of the ins and outs that they need to be able to balance their life, which is a little too late for me. If we started in those lower levels, we wouldn't be spending that much time when we get up to those levels to learn how to have work-life balance and learn how to delegate and learn how to efficiently spend our time. So that's why I'm really passionate about what I do for work. But I spent 20 plus years in leadership doing everything you could possibly think of to run a business. And I actually would come in and they lovingly called me the location flipper because I would come into failing locations, and in 3 to 8 months, I would look over everything, build that morale back up, help everybody feel engaged and joyful in their jobs again, and then I'd move on to the next location. And I realized over that time that one, I wasn't getting to train the person coming in after me. So they were handed a well-oiled machine, but they weren't sure how to keep that afloat. And that's really the piece that has helped me understand that leaders do have difficulties with setting boundaries, with managing their time, managing their physical energy and their mental energy, learning how to delegate, how to do these little pieces that actually make up that fulfillment in life. So it's a little bit about me.
Yeah, I mean that's so cool. And I kind of can relate to those leaders that you just mentioned, those who are having a hard time, finding balance in their life, especially when it comes to like spending time on their business, spending time with their friends and family. And at first, when I started my business, I thought that I can do everything on my own. I thought that, okay, I have a business, that means I can do anything I want, the way how I want it and when I want it. And with that kind of mindset, that kind of mindset kind of gave me a lie that I can do everything on my own just because I can decide what I can do and how I want it done. And so, and I feel like a lot of leaders right now, they are still kind of having a hard time with that kind of mindset, that they think they can do everything alone, where in fact, no, they can't. And that's and even if they can do the things that they want to do. That doesn't mean that they should be the one doing it, because we only have like 8 hours a day. I mean, if you work from 8 to 5, but it depends on you, like how much work you want to put in a day. But we only have like 24 hours a day, and those are times that we cannot get back if we kind of lost it or waste it. And you know what, it's so funny because I know we are talking about energy today, but I feel like time and energy, they're like twins. You cannot have
Mhm.
energy if you don't have time, and you cannot have time if you don't have, enough energy. And I am currently reading a book from John Maxwell, and John Maxwell is actually one of my heroes when it comes to like leadership. He said that you cannot. There's really no such thing as managing your time, because
Mhm.
our time is limited. Just like what I said, we only have 24 hours. So there is no such thing as managing time, because when you say manage, that means you can control it, you can add to it, and you can subtract to it, and you cannot do that with time. And the only thing that you can do with time is to know how you're going to use it. And I feel like that's also relevant to managing your energy. So tell me more about how we can manage our energy, knowing that we only have 24 hours a day. And you know what? We don't really have 24 hours a day, because I don't know about you, but I sleep like between 7 to 9 hours a day. And I am a sleeper. Like, I need sleep. If I don't sleep, I won't be able to function the next day. So I'm interested to hear more
Mhm.
from you about that.
Well, and I love that you mentioned that sleep is such an important thing, because when you think about it, we have this task list, and it's all the things we have to do at work. It's all the things we have to do to take care of our homes and the people around us and ourselves. And oftentimes, entrepreneurs and leaders forget about that last piece of taking care of ourselves. So sleep. I mean, I've heard leaders and entrepreneurs like flaunt that, oh, I only slept 3 hours last night. I'm like, so where are you at mentally right now? How are you executing on what you're trying to get done? Because when you are sleep deprived, when you're not feeling your best, are you making the best decisions that you can? Are you acting on things in ways that bring you fulfillment? And most of the time, when you look back on it, the answer is probably not as effectively as you want it to be. And that's the big piece that I think we forget as entrepreneurs and as leaders, is really there is only 24 hours in a day. So how are you spending your energy? And a lot of times we're spending it on things that take more energy than we have to give, which draws it out. That's where procrastination comes from. That's where lack of motivation comes from. That's where
Mm-hmm.
we look for the next cool thing that's going to pull our attention and give us some excitement. And it's usually because we are not looking at things holistically and really putting together that to-do list based off everything that does need to get done. I mean, how many times have you seen somebody write a to-do list and it's everything they have to do at work? And
Yeah.
that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Sleep's never on there. One of the biggest things I did to change that mentality, because I was a workaholic. When I worked for corporate, it was a minimum of 12 hours a day, minimum 6 days a week.
Wow.
And Sundays were spent cleaning the house, doing laundry, not relaxing. And it was insane. Like, when you think about it, when I look back on it, I'm like, what did I do? And now that I run the business, I can set those boundaries. And that's where I'm talking about the energy. What am I spending my time on? Is this fulfilling me and making me more excited and passionate, or is it draining? Like, I despise writing articles for my website. I will not lie. Like, I don't like it at all.
I mean, oh yeah, me too. Probably 4 times than you are, because English is not my first language, and if you find it hard to write articles, or if you don't enjoy it, I don't as well. Like, maybe 4 times than how you despise it. So how do you know what tasks you need to spend your energy on? So I mean, I feel like you kind of give a hint already. You kind of gave a hint already, like, if it is it something that excites you or draining you? So tell me more about that.
Well, the challenge we run into as entrepreneurs or even as leaders is we feel we have to do everything on our own. In the leadership field, usually we are a sole contributor and we are praised for that before we get into leadership. And then it's really hard to switch that off. In entrepreneurship, we go and we start a business and we start realizing all the different hats that we have to wear. And we struggle through it and we figure out how to make it comfortable so we can tackle it. And to hand that off to somebody is super hard because we already got comfortable with it. Now you want me to bring somebody else in where it's going to disrupt that flow. We're not going to be where I want it to be. How am I going to explain it? I didn't even understand it. And I'm just like muddling through it. Those are the conversations we have with ourselves about delegating. So you can understand, and I did hint at it, it is about those things that bring you joy and fill your cup. But it's usually because you're not confident in the things that you're doing that are dragging it down. So like with articles, I'll use myself as an example. When I write my articles, I'm very big on there's not one right way to do anything. And I don't want to come across as somebody that's saying you have to do it this way because it doesn't work for everybody. We are all different. We all have different experiences and different things that bring us joy. And that's the key thing that comes up in my head and it plays over and over again when I'm writing is like, am I coming off saying like, you have to do this? Because they don't have to do this. And it makes it difficult. And I rewrite and it's stressful and I will put it off and I will postpone it as much as humanly possible. And I actually cut down to do only one a month on like to compensate with that. But these are the things that you can delegate off or find easier ways to do it. So if there's negative emotions associated with it, that's a good key thing that this is something you can delegate off.
That is so good. Speaking of making a to-do list, which you mentioned earlier, one of my friends who is also an entrepreneur told me to also come up with a not to-do list so that you know what you're not going to do for a day or for your entire life. So I think that is very helpful. So once you figure out what you don't like doing, what are the things that don't really excite you, then put those things in your not to-do list. And whenever you are tempted to do those things just because you feel like you can do everything, then go back to I don't know, go back to your vision or go back to your goals. Like ask yourself, if I do this thing on this not to-do list, will this help me go to wherever I want my business to be?
Absolutely. I love that. That is a great tip. It brought to mind another tip that I do when goal setting or looking at things that I just don't like doing. And it's called AIM, AIM.
I like that.
And A stands for what's acceptable. So when you're doing something, what is the lowest level that I will accept this being done? So instead of stressing out about it needing to be perfect, what's acceptable about it? The next piece would be I, which is ideal. What's the maximum? What do I really want to achieve? What does perfection look like? And then M is for what's in the middle. What shoots me out of my comfort zone to try a little bit harder, but keeps me manageable so I'm not tearing my hair out to get it to 100% perfect. And that helps a lot with things that we're just uncomfortable with doing because we think we have to do them, especially when we own our own business. All the responsibility is on us. So if we can set that aim of what we're okay with on the low end, what the high end looks like and what like the middle looks like, it helps us go, okay, I already said I am at my acceptable piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can still keep shooting for middle, or this is really just dragging me down and I am like procrastinating. Maybe I don't need to, but you have set that boundary for yourself.
That's really good. So acceptable, ideal, whatever's in the middle, you should aim for those things. That's so good. I like it. So when you say leadership, do you think it's different with entrepreneurship? I mean, business owners are supposed to be leaders, but I know that not all business owners are leaders, like for myself, like I am a business owner, but I know as well that I am a leader because I lead people, but I don't think that's applicable to everyone. So What do you think? Do you agree with that? Like, you can be a leader but not a business owner, but you can be a business owner but not a leader, if that makes sense.
It makes sense what you're saying. And I actually view it from a different angle. I feel that everybody is a leader because whether we have kids or we have friends or we have a business or we have employees, we're leading somebody and we're leading ourselves. And that is probably the number one leadership skill that entrepreneurs need, even if they're a solopreneur where they have no one working for them. That personal accountability and being able to lead yourself and understanding what you're capable of and what you are not capable of or what you don't want to do and getting clear on that, that is leading yourself.
Right. I love that. You know what? I agree with you. We are all leaders, but I feel like some people just don't know that they are. And that's where you come in, right? You help them figure out their leadership skills, leadership styles, and what can make them become a better leader. I love that. So yeah, so you started your business over 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So what has been your struggles so far, and how did you overcome those struggles?
The biggest struggles that I had was really mindset. And I think for all entrepreneurs, the biggest hurdle that we have to overcome is mindset. And it's different for all of us. Some of us have challenges with money mindset. Some of us have challenges with time management. Some of us have challenges with putting ourselves out there. There's so many different things that we have challenges with, but it's all mindset. And that's part of what I'm talking about with energy leadership as well, which has to do with our perceptions about the world around us and how we interact with it. And the more we can understand those things, the more we can overcome those hurdles in our minds, because maybe we don't realize that writing an article triggers us in a certain way. Then we can't get to the bottom of that. So we just perpetually stick into it and we don't give it to someone else and we keep trying to do it, or we give up on it. And then we start questioning whether we are capable of doing things in other areas because we had this failure and we don't understand it.
Right.
That's a big part of it, is really that mindset and understanding our perceptions of the world around us.
That's true. I like that. And yeah, I totally agree with you. Like, there are different mindsets, and you saying that, I feel like it kind of like confirms that our mind is our biggest enemy, because we can have negative thoughts, we can have lies in our heads, and whatever feeds our minds and we believe in those lies, I mean, we will have a hard time achieving what we want, in life and in business. So if you have like a wrong mindset when it comes to like handling your finances, if you believe that you can just be in debt and have a profit at the same time, you know what I mean? I don't think that's healthy. If you feel like you can be, if you feel like you can become a better person by stepping onto other people, then that's not healthy. Those are not healthy mindset. And if you believe those like deceptions, I feel like it's kind of hard to like get out from those kind of things unless you are accountable with somebody else. And I'm glad that you are doing that for other people, because it's hard to be accountable with somebody else, with someone else, but it's also harder if you are the one that is being accountable with that person, if that makes sense. So what do you do when you have a client or when there's a leader that doesn't know how to manage his energy? Because energy is not like time. When you're like, okay, you have 24 hours, but you cannot say that you have 80%, 100% energy. When I wake up at 8 a.m. and I eat lunch at 12 and then I take a break at 3, I wouldn't know if I only have like 25% energy or 10% energy. Like, we're not like cell phones where we can see how full we are and how empty we are, right? If only we can see those things, like our capacity, then it would be so much easier. So what would you say to a leader that doesn't know how to manage his energy?
So you can actually measure that based
I'm glad
off
to
of
hear
your
that.
emotions. You can measure it off of your emotions. So a lot of it is mental. And I think we give our brains a bad rap sometimes. I like to think of our brains as a computer system. And usually when we get a computer system, if we don't have a handbook or somebody that teaches us how to use it, we have a difficult time, and we usually fight that computer system. And that's a lot of what happens. And honestly, if we talk to our friends, how we talk to ourselves, we would not be friends with anybody because it's things that we say to ourselves and the programming that we build into our computers that are our brains is very negative, and we replay it over and over and over again. So you can test to see where you are by understanding, and I'm going to use two words here that you may or may not be familiar with. And the first one is how much catabolic energy we have, and the second one is anabolic. So catabolic energy is anything associated with
I was absent during our science class when my teacher taught about this, but I've heard of it. So feel free to educate me right now.
So catabolic is really that tearing down, like any of those negative weighted emotions, where you're feeling just pushed down in that weight on our shoulders, which we feel we often associate the words like overwhelmed or stressed out or just done, right? We're just checked out and done. That is that catabolic heavy weight, and that's that energy. Anabolic is more uplifting. It's when we have those moments of joy or peace or calmness. And you can tell where your energy is at based off of that weight or that lifting feeling. So when we're working on something that brings us joy, we actually shift into the more logical, rational part of our brains when we're in that anabolic state. And our body actually puts out anabolic hormones, which helps fine tune what's going on in our bodies and our brains. When we're feeling those catabolic energy feelings, it actually promotes catabolic hormones in our body. And that actually shuts down different parts of our brain so we don't use it anymore. And it triggers our fight or flight, which makes it more difficult to move forward. That's why when we feel on things that we just don't like to do or we're overwhelmed by them, it's like walking through mud and you just can't move forward very fast. Mm-hmm. That's how you can gauge that battery.
That is awesome. So that's why it's important to delegate those tasks that you don't like doing, that are dragging you down, that are making you feel stressed and overwhelmed, and just work on tasks that are giving you joy, excitement, and something that is kind of like inspiring you, to just keeping on doing what you want to do in your business. So what would you say to those entrepreneurs, business owners, or leaders that are kind of hard-headed, that they don't want to, save their energy on things that matters the most?
Well, it's always tricky because it's really understanding what motivates the person individually. And I think this goes back to understanding our own individual values and what's important to us. Because things that are important to me are going to be totally important, not as important or totally different for somebody else. And when you can understand what motivates, and this works with employees or your upper management or your vendors or whoever you're working with, if you can understand what motivates them, what those values are that they hold near and dear, you can help them create the motivation, and you don't have to create that motivation for them. You don't have to talk them into understanding it. You just can help them understand either how it's beneficial or how it's pushing against them.
Yeah.
Because we can all do a lot of the same things.
Right, exactly. And sometimes, just by asking the right questions, by doing that, that helps them realize what are the things that are valuable to them. And I don't know, I feel like it's just different because there are entrepreneurs who are like single, who doesn't have kids, who lives alone. I mean, I'm sure they find it easier to work more than maybe 12 hours a day because it's just themselves. Do you think it's healthy to work that long, 16 hours a day, if you don't have any other people around you? I don't know if that is still healthy
I think it depends on the person and what brings them that fulfillment and what brings them joy. I volunteer for an organization, and we work with the SBA, the Small Business Administration. And through COVID, we were doing presentations for thousands and thousands of small business owners, helping them with PPE loans and understand how to get funding. And one of the heads of the SBA said to me on Saturday, I don't think your group understands how important it was for us to spend time with you on those meetings, those 15 minutes before, because we were not getting interaction with people. So it really just depends on the person and what fills their cup. If their cup is filled with doing that work, and they are, by themselves, and that's what brings them joy, and that's how they connect with people, then they're getting their cup filled in the same way that someone who is more outgoing or has a lot of family that they spend time with, they're filling that cup in that way. So it really is just dependent on what that person needs and the world that they've created around them.
Yeah, and I feel like finding the balance in everything is the key as well. Because I feel like you can be a workaholic, but still be in a healthy pace. But you can be a workaholic and be in an unhealthy pace of your life, because whatever is too much, it's bad. And regardless if it's food, drinking, vices, even with work, because if we're not careful enough, we can worship our business. It can be our idol. And it's like we can sell our soul to our business if we don't find the balance in managing our business, spending time with the people that we love, and taking care of your mental health.
Absolutely. And that's why it comes back to being able to understand those catabolic and anabolic feelings and that energy, because if you're working 12 hours a day and you're anabolic and you are uplifted by everything, is it necessarily a negative thing? Maybe not.
Yeah.
But if you are working 12 hours or 16 hours, like I have as a recovering workaholic, I knew that wasn't what I wanted to spend my time on, and it was not bringing me joy. Whereas now in my own business, I can spend 8 hours a day and it brings me joy. Or there's days where I'll spend 9 to 12 hours a day. It's not consistent because those don't always bring me joy, and I like to bring the other things in that do bring me joy. That's why I don't work on weekends, and I usually cut off by 5 every day. But I also don't beat myself up if I do go over and I work till 9 one night to take care of some stuff. It's the exception, not the rule. And that may be the balance, but it's really up to each one of us to figure out what that is.
Yep, I totally agree, because you can work for 4 hours and feel tired after that just because you don't like the thing that you're doing. So I totally agree. It really depends on how we use our time. So anything else that you would like to share? Any words of wisdom before we end our interview?
Sure. There's only 2 things I'd like to share. And the first one is it was a game changer for me as a recovering workaholic to make the to-do list that had everything on it. Everything: home, work, personal, self-care, even learning, I will put onto my task list. So I know I'm making time for myself, and I'm making sure everything else gets done, because I found for me, if I did not do that, then it would get filled up with a bunch of stuff that other people wanted to do, which would pull me down. And then the second thing is that you can, there is an actual way to affect that anabolic and catabolic, if anybody's interested. And I'm not the only person that's certified in it, but there is one of the top 10 leadership assessments in the US, and it gauges perceptions and energy levels. And it's called the Energy Leadership Index Assessment. And it's very quick and easy to take, and gives a lot of people a very sound strategy to understand the people in their lives that they're interacting with in a negative way or catabolic way, and how to bring more of that positive anabolic energy in.
That sounds like a good resource. Yeah. So any kind of, aside from that, any online resources that you want to share to our listeners?
There's a lot of really great articles on my website about anabolic and catabolic and understanding how the brain works. And that's for entrepreneurs. It's one of the things that I really share a lot. And there's another really great book by, I think his name is Marshall, but it's called E-Myth, and it's for entrepreneurs. And it talks about all of the different downfalls that you can run into and how to strategize to overcome some of those in business. And it's hugely helpful for understanding how to balance your time and learn how to delegate. There's a whole thing on that.
Yeah.
But those would be two of the bigger things that I would say to help support everyone.
Awesome. I love that book. I've read that once, and almost 80% of the content in that book I have already forgotten. So I should read that book again. Where can people find you online?
They can find me on Instagram under Desired Effects Coaching. You can go to my website at desiredeffectscoaching.com. I'm also on LinkedIn under Desiree Musselman. And Facebook is also under Desired Effects Coaching.
Cool. I don't think we're connected on Instagram yet, because we met each other on LinkedIn, so I'm gonna follow you on Instagram as well.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for your time today, Desiree. I appreciate all the valuable information that you have shared on the show.
Well, thanks. It's been a very enjoyable conversation, Christy. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video and you want to listen to the full episode, please type in Master Delegator on Spotify, iTunes, and other podcast channels, or simply click the link in the description box below. Also, please subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you again on the next episode. Bye!